Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and this podcast is dedicated to educating and empowering women from preconception, pregnancy, birth, and through early motherhood on wellness lifestyle. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and I'm a maternity pediatric chiropractor and mother who has hand-selected experts in natural, holistic healthcare specialties to shine light on options and choices during this exciting phase of a woman's life. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jenny Watson, who is the founder of the Elderberry Company, to speak about natural remedies to keep your family healthy and active. Jenny is the founder of Elderberry Company, and she's also a wife of a pastor and stay-at-home mom with 2 small children when she was looking for ways to keep her family healthy naturally. She started making elderberry syrup in her kitchen and found they were no longer fighting colds or flu. Friends and family were her first customers, but soon it got to the point where strangers were showing up at her doorstep at all hours wanting to buy the magic elixir. Within a year, Jenny was making the syrup in mass batches in a commercial kitchen, and today is managing a multi-million-dollar business with a line of products and 11 employees. And if you want to find more about her company, you can go to the elderberryco.com. Hi, Jenny. Welcome to the show. Very excited to have you on today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Jenny Watson is going to speak today on my podcast about natural remedies to keep your family healthy and active. And I'm really excited to have you on because you're a mom with young children, and you literally had this it sounds like, and I'm excited for you to share your story, aha moment, like what I'm doing isn't working for my child, and I need to figure out something different, right? Like we can't just keep banging our head against the wall and being like, why isn't this working? So tell a little bit about your story and how you came up with this amazing product.
Yeah. So my business is called the Elderberry Company, and it's mostly known for fresh elderberry syrup that we make every single week in our shop here. And I started the business in my home kitchen, and it really was actually started accidentally about 4.5 years ago. At the time, I had just one small kid. I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old now, but it was a Facebook post that I put out on the internet, just asking people if they wanted to try a sample of my elderberry syrup. And really, for me, it was just I wanted to extend kindness to other moms and give them a potential solution that had helped my family. I had first heard about elderberry syrup when I was pregnant, actually. I had a cold, a terrible cold, and I just was wanting pregnant, safe, natural way to fight the cold. And so I actually went out to social media and asked for some solutions, and I got a ton of them. And one of them was elderberry syrup, but for whatever reason, I didn't know what elderberry was. I didn't know how to get it, how to make it. And so I just passed by that post or that comment. And I think I ended up using garlic. I chopped garlic up and I put it in yogurt. And so it was miserable. I wish I would have actually tried elderberry syrup. But because the garlic probably helped a little bit, but yeah. So it wasn't until I was actually a mom that I had remembered all of those posts about elderberry syrup. When my son was 6 months old, we moved across the country. So I think with the climate change and kids very often will get sick, with respiratory stuff, especially during the colder months of the year. So within a week of moving, he got the sniffles. The sniffles turned into a full-blown cold. My mom called it right away. She said, he's got an ear infection. I said, I don't think so. Surely not. But we took him to the doctor, and it was a full-blown ear infection, prescribed antibiotics, and the antibiotics cleared it up. And we moved on. But the next month after that, sniffles turned into a full-blown cold, doctor's visit, ear infection, antibiotics. And it was a cycle that we went through every single month that winter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as a new mom, it was surprising to me just that I felt really powerless. And that's a huge part of my story, just that empowerment piece. As a new mom, we're faced with a whole new world. I used to say that I never so there was a funny GIF or something that was like, I used to think I had a strong immune system, but then I became a mom and I realized I was just really good at staying away from people who sneeze directly into my mouth. I feel like is so true. Like they're your kids. I never got sick before kids. And then with kids, I think, they share germs a lot easier. Their immune systems are building and forming and developing. And so there's just a new level of awareness you have as a young mom. And so I was sick of that cycle, honestly. I wanted to be able to provide something to my child to make him feel better. And it was in that moment that I remembered those moms telling me about elderberry syrup. And so I found a way to make it. I made it and gave it to him when he had the sniffles. He was a little over a year old, and the sniffles went away after a few days, and I was sold at that point. And so we started incorporating elderberry syrup into our daily routine at that point. And then it was just, another year later that I posted on Facebook, and that's kind of how my business started.
That is so cool. So yeah, I mean, obviously antibiotics, on over and over again is a little bit like banging your head against the wall, right?
Mm-hmm,
And you're just like, okay. And it's frustrating, right? Because you're kind of expecting your, the health expert for your child, the pediatrician, to give other suggestions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't happening. So you really had to do your own research. I mean, think about moms that didn't have internet and didn't have social media, like our moms, right? So
They had to go to the library and pick a book
to the
out,
library, or they would talk to their mothers, or
Yeah.
there was some, I think some generational ancient wisdom passed
Mm-hmm.
down that I guess is not necessarily did your mother have any holistic remedies that she did when you were a child?
She
or
really
that when
didn't.
she was a child?
Yeah, she really didn't. And honestly, one of the things, and I love my mom, she's great if she's listening. You're a great mom. But one of the things I was surprised at, and I'm curious if a lot of other moms have experienced this, but fevers. My mom always gave me, Tylenol or something to lower my fever. And so in my head, I always thought, you have a fever, you need to get it down as fast as you can. So as a mom, that's what I thought. And it was, and it's so great that we do have the internet. It can be a double-edged sword. It can give us an excess of information that really just negates truth. But it also can give us a lot of empowerment, especially when it can connect you with other women that have experienced the remedies that work for their families. But, it took me, talking to other moms, looking on the internet, and realizing that a fever is a warning sign, but it's a good sign that your body is doing exactly what it needs to do to fight whatever it's fighting, And so I want to
I want to lower it.
Yes. Yeah. And so I've always I still, to this day, when I have moms that just go straight to Tylenol, and I understand a lot of times you just want your baby to feel better. But there are other ways you can help that baby feel better and comfort them and help them through whatever they're fighting while their body does exactly what it needs to be doing.
Correct. So I know in my office, we tell moms, bring your child in to get an adjustment. Adjustments immediately help break that fever so the child can feel more comfortable. Certainly cool baths. And hydration is really important as well. And it's fine if they're not have an appetite and they don't want to eat,
Right.
So you just hydrate, rest, cool bath, Cairo, and then natural remedies as well that can help their immune system, because the fever is literally fighting the infection, right? So we don't want to interrupt that process. And what we find actually is if we do interrupt that with an over-the-counter medication like Tylenol, we are going to actually create a suboptimal immune system for our child. So like you mentioned, every child has an immature immune system when they're born, and this takes a couple of years to develop in everybody. And if we don't allow that development to grow on its own, then it really won't know how to work properly.
Yeah. And I don't know how I would have learned that other than maybe, my upbringing being taught that, or just when I'm thrown into the fire as a mom and, you're the first time your baby has a fever, you go to your friends and you go online and you try to figure it out. And so surrounding yourself with people that you trust and that are like-minded in terms of just overall health for your family is really, really important.
Yeah. So I would say, and I really appreciate your honesty about, your own childhood experience and how your mother treated illness, so to speak. So if you weren't raised with that lifestyle, then it is going to be foreign and unknown. But it's an opportunity to be like, okay, even though I don't know what I'm doing, but I can get this information, right? And you can talk to other, there's going to be a small handful of moms that are doing this in your area, and you can reach out to them. There's more of these crunchy moms Facebook groups, and they will have all of this valuable stuff to share. And you can also connect with a more holistic minded pediatrician who's going to recommend homeopathy and other non medications, including over the counter, non-drug options for treating common childhood symptoms that are not emergencies, right? And then also prevention, right? Like if a child continues to keep getting sick, there's an opportunity here to prevent that from happening. Because sickness is not from germs. We don't get sick from germs. We get sick from an immune system that's not operating properly, right? So that's, I think, a big aha moment. You can have somebody sneeze in your mouth, and if your immune system's working well, if you're not sleep deprived, if you're not stressed, and you're eating well, it won't be a thing. There won't be symptoms. So that's also important to remember.
Yeah. And what's cool is that my parents both take elderberry syrup now on a regular basis. And I know they're doing
educating them.
Yes. Well, they're doing it to support me. At first, I really thought, you guys, you're just taking it because I'm your daughter. But then my dad swears by it. And he says that, especially as a grandpa, at the end of life, the immune support that you need, increases a little bit with your age. And so being around, he always like blames his grandkids for sickness. And so ever since he's been on elderberry syrup, he feels like it's really helped him be able to not be knocked off his feet after a weekend with the grandkids. So.
Right, which is important. So I love that. And I love that there's, so you can take it preventively. Do you have people like children and families that do take it 365? Do they only take it in the winter season?
Yeah, I've got kind of a mix of everything. I'm really big on just telling my customers to do what's comfortable for them, do their research, talk to their care providers. But we have customers that will take it all year round, regardless of the season. Others will take it just during the colder months of the year. Others maybe during the allergy season. We put a local honey, which is local to us in Southern Indiana. So a ton of my local customers really swear by it because we're in the Ohio River Valley. And so our allergies, especially when people move here, they get blasted in the spring and the fall. And so a lot of my customers will take it during those times of the year as well.
Right. And can you speak to why local honey is helpful, not just for immune system, but specifically for seasonal allergies and that overreaction of the immune response?
Yeah. So local honey is, you basically want to ingest the honey of the bees that are pollinating the plants that are in your backyard. So the closer you can get to your backyard, the better. And, I've heard 50 miles, 100 miles, so as close as you can get to that is going to help your body with the raw honey. Local honey is going to have natural enzymes that help our bodies fight infection. Raw honey has incredible health benefits all around. So it's really important. There's two levels of support for the honey that we use, raw and local. So if you're not local to us, you're not going to get that local benefit because our bees are pollinating the plants in the Ohio River Valley. But we don't cook our honey past a certain temperature because when that happens, those natural enzymes go away and the honey really loses a majority of its benefits. So we make sure to keep our honey raw. And you can find raw honey anywhere. It's just important to make sure that you trust the honey you're buying and making sure that it is in fact raw.
And then I would say local as well. So like at a farmer's market, you'll definitely find that. And, did you know that raw honey is the only food that never spoils?
Oh, I actually learned that from my beekeeper. My beekeepers have kept me so informed because they said there were honey in the pyramids, found in the pyramids.
Yes.
And that was mind blowing to me.
Yes.
That's insane.
It's so insane. It's really like this, miracle food.
Yeah.
So it is powerful, and we got to protect our bees, right? Bees are getting killed by environmental changes. But anyway, so, with your product, what I like, if you've expanded over the years, you have the ready-made product, the syrup that has your local honey, which is good for anybody 12 months and older. Right. And then you also have the raw ingredients. So, for example, if a mom wants to make it herself and add different, experiment in the kitchen, add other different things, or keep it honey free if she has a child who's under a year old who, should be avoiding honey. There's opportunity for to make it her own.
Yeah. So we have an elderberry syrup kit, and it's really popular. I'd say that about 80% of our customers like the convenience of having elderberry syrup made, but you definitely can make it yourself. And we have the kit with all of our dry ingredients with instructions on how to use it. You can make it on a stovetop. You can make it with your Instant Pot. Those are the two big ways that people will make it. And then we add the honey at the end of our brewing process, and so the instructions we give you is just at the end of your brewing process. You can add your own local honey if that's important to you, more or less honey to taste, or if you want to just omit honey altogether. And maybe you can speak to this a little bit, Laura, is, the customers that come in through my door that are diabetic, they often are a little weary of the sugar content in my syrup. But from my understanding, that honey is a natural sugar, so it does take your body slower to process. But for those that really want to stay away from all sweetener, you can just omit the sweetener altogether in the syrup. It's a little bit bitter, but it's definitely doable. And you can always mix it with water, or put it in tea, coffee, whatever kind of medium you want.
Yes. And sugar, it is a natural sugar. So it's not going to create like a spike in your blood sugar like a processed sugar.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to your point, some people are needing to be on a very low glycemic index diet, and then they could get the kit and
Yes.
have no sweetener, right? And have that as an
Absolutely.
option.
Yeah. That's really popular with our customers that need that limit of sugar.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me. So how many different products do you have in your line?
So we have I'm honestly losing count a little bit. We've come out with 3 or 4 products this year alone. Syrup is still our main seller. It's what people have found us by and know us by. We also have gummies, which honestly, I struggled with coming out with gummies at first because of just, it's not as much in a natural form as our syrup. I love the syrup, and I'll always love the syrup. I always point people to the syrup, but the gummies, a lot of people like because they can travel better on the go. Our syrup is made fresh, and so it only lasts 2 months. It needs to stay in the refrigerator. We have some customers that don't like that it only lasts 2 months in the refrigerator. And it's that point of education. I laugh. I'm like, you don't get mad at your banana when it spoils after a week or 2 on your shelf, because the natural fruits and vegetables, they're not made to last longer than that. And so, our syrup could stay outside the fridge, but it's going to cut the shelf life significantly. So even in the fridge, it's only going to last 2 months. So the gummies are good.
You didn't put, preservatives in it, which is
Absolutely.
toxins and chemicals. So,
Yeah.
It's, I think we've kind of been conditioned by marketing to, things that are shelf stable.
Mm-hmm.
The only way they're shelf stable if they're a natural product is they've had chemicals added to them. So,
yes.
Unfortunately, that's what nature is.
Yeah. Well, and also like our syrup is really more of a juice-like consistency. The only thickening agent that's in there is our raw honey. And so when people hear the word syrup, they're thinking maple syrup. They're thinking even like cough syrup, really thick, really sweet. And we could make ours really thick and really sweet, but that would come with a ton of preservatives, a ton of additives, a ton of sugars. And so it's again, educating our customers to say, no, it's the thinner consistency doesn't mean we're skimping on any quality. And if anything, we are increasing our quantity or our quality because we are sticking with a blend of berries, spices, and raw honey. Everything in there has a purpose and is used to fuel your body. And so and a lot of our customers, that's why they stick around. That's why they stay. But, you can get elderberry syrup that's store-bought on the shelves of a pharmacy or grocery store, but it's going to be thick, it's going to be sweet, and it's going to stay in your medicine cabinet for 2 years, and our elderberry syrup is going to be 2 months. So, but it's fresh. It's closer to its natural form.
So when it's shipped, is it have to be like with an ice pack, or is it sealed? Is it until you open the seal that the shelf life is 2 months? Or?
No, it's from the day that we make it. And so transit time with shipping within the U.S. is right around 5 days. And we do testing on our syrup to ensure that it's like food safe, like for safety purposes. And so outside of the fridge isn't again going to increase any type of safety concern, but it will lower the shelf life. So I imagine without a transit time, maybe it would go 70 or 80 days. But with the transit time without an ice pack, we just instruct you to put it in the fridge upon arrival. And then it's 60 days from the date that we write on the jar. And we handwrite all of our dates. And so you'll see that right on the jar.
Got it. And you're only shipping in the US currently?
Yeah. So we actually just expanded to Canada, but we're not expanding our syrup to Canada for that reason, because the transit time is closer to 10 to 20 days to travel from our shop in Indiana to Canada.
Got it. So that's the kit.
Yeah, so the kit and the gummies, and we have an entire tea line that we actually we've always had one tea that's we used to call it our wellness tea, and it's a blend of like a lemon ginger forefront flavor, but it's got hibiscus, coriander seed, cinnamon chips, lemongrass, orange peel. It's really, really, really good. But I wanted to offer other tea flavors. And so we rebranded wellness tea to be called lemon ginger tea. And all of our teas now are under the wellness tea kind of umbrella. And so we just came out with apple hibiscus tea and then pomegranate green tea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so, that sound great. And all of them have different herbs, like multiple herbs in them.
Yeah. So the lemon ginger is going to give you the most, the biggest amount of herbs. Apple hibiscus is apple pieces, hibiscus, elderberries, and that might be it. So it's more of a basic flavor. And then the pomegranate green is mencha green tea and pomegranate pieces. So.
And where do you get all your, the source, all of your ingredients?
Yeah. So kind of all over the place. Our honey is local. We partner with some farms over in Ukraine and Bulgaria. And so with the war that's been happening, that's been kind of a forefront of our mind's concern. But there's actually
pre-war you were doing that.
Yeah. So we haven't had any supply issues from the war yet. And so we just kind of keep in touch with those farmers, make sure that they're safe. But the European elderberry is the type of elderberry we use. There is an American elderberry, but it's not really harvested and grown. It's more just kind of grows wild on the sides of the road. You've probably seen elderberries all over the place. You just got to look for them and know what you're looking for. But it's really less than 2% of the elderberry market is in America. And Europe has been harvesting elderberries for decades now. So that's where we get our elderberries and our aronia berries. And then for our tea, we work with a tea manufacturer up in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So, that's interesting. So do they ship you the berries, or they ship you just the liquid?
We actually get the berries. They come to us dried, and then our brew process is pretty cool. So I started this in my home kitchen. So I started with like a 9-quart pot, moved up to like a 12-quart, then a 20-quart. And then about a year into my business, I thought I wanted to just keep it at home because I was a stay-at-home mom. At the time I had a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old, and I had people coming to my house to pick up my elderberry syrup. That was kind of how you can't sell food online if you make it in your home kitchen. And so, but it was a great way for me to kind of have a hobby at the time and still be at home with my kids. But it got to the point where it was a little bit too much for me to handle. My 6-month-old was now, starting to walk and jumping into toilets if I wasn't looking after her. So it was a little bit too much for me to handle. I just started at the farmer's market and gained a lot of traction there, and didn't really want to give my home address out to everybody to come pick up elderberry syrup.
Sure.
So when I moved to a commercial kitchen, I moved to 20-quart pots. And so that worked for a little bit, but that opened me up to sell online, which is primarily how we sell today. 80% of our customers find us online, and we ship across the entire United States. And so I moved into my own kitchen just 2.5 years ago. And I needed bigger pots. And so I had to figure out, I ended up researching beer brewing, which I didn't know anything about, but I learned about all the beer brewing equipment. I've interviewed probably 4 or 5 brewers and kept asking them, well, do you think this would work for elderberry syrup? And they're like, well, I don't know anything about elderberry syrup. I know it works for beer, but I'm not sure about elderberry syrup. So I ended up having to just try it out. So I purchased about $3,000 worth of beer brewing equipment, and I have the video. It's so funny. I'm like, I make the first batch in this beer brewing equipment and it tastes great. And I'm like, it actually tastes better. I'm like so excited about it. But we use 50-gallon beer brewing kettles to make our syrup. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
And then you bottle them right there. And
yeah, we do everything by hand. We put our labels on by hand. I've got an amazing team here. There's just about 11 of us. We grew in COVID, March of 2020. We really, we weren't expecting the growth, but we went from about 4,000 orders a month to 14,000 orders in March 2020 alone.
Wow.
And it was insane. Yeah. I mean, it was like people were running to the stores for toilet paper and elderberry syrup.
Yes,
like.
they were actually.
They were.
I was at Whole Foods looking for elderberry myself.
Yes,
There was nothing on the shelf.
And we never sold out. But we would be bottling it from the kettle because we just bottle by hand, bottle by bottle. We would be bottling it from the kettle and was sticking it straight into a package for an online order. It was absolutely wild. But yeah, we handwrite the dates by hand, we lid by hand, put the tamper-proof seal by hand, everything. So it's a really cool small batch handcrafted product.
That is. And is there any variations from like batch to batch? Because it is, homemade like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you asked that because that's another common question we get from our customers. We want to strive for consistency and we never want to budge on quality. And so we are confident in that, but you harvest berries on different soils, you harvest honey from different areas, even our honey, like it's local, but it's within a 100-mile radius. And so with that variation of just the different plants you're harvesting, you're going to get a little bit of a different flavor. Even honey, batch to batch, sometimes it's darker, sometimes it's lighter, depending on what the bees are harvesting that time of year. And so, yeah, the taste is always a little different with each batch, but we just try to help educate our customers on that reason for it.
Yeah, and that makes, perfect sense. Just like if you were going to go into a farmer's market, you can't expect, the products to be identical because it's not mass produced. Right.
Yeah. We make a couple hundred jars with each batch and then on to the next one is a completely different taste. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And, the other thing too, that I think maybe a lot of people don't understand, is that chemicals can help, create the same flavor. Mm-hmm. Right. But when you're using natural ingredients, there's going to be some variation. And that's because it's not from chemicals.
Right. Yeah. And we will adjust our honey because we want our customers to at least expect what the flavor is going to be. They understand there's going to be some slight variation, but there will be batches where we'll have to add a couple more gallons of honey just because for whatever reason, the bitterness is spiking on that particular batch, or the other way around. We'll add honey slowly at the end and taste it until, we've got a brewmaster here who's just fantastic at making it. And that was a hard step for me. I made it for the longest time. COVID hit and I couldn't continue making the amount that we needed that we were selling. But she's got just the best eye for it, the best taste for it. And what she produces out of that kitchen is just fantastic.
Does she have a background as a brewer for beer?
She doesn't. No, she has a food she's in the food service industry background.
Got it.
But I mean, she's just the kind of person that just loves being in the kitchen. It's like her domain. It's her kingdom. We call it. It's like, it's her place. And so I am not I thought I made good syrup and I had a hard time letting go of that. But I found, and I mean, a lot of things in the business that I've built, I had no background in business at all. I found that when I found somebody that can do it better than me, they indeed do a lot of things better than I do. And I just need to stick to what I'm good at. So,
yes, that is a very good life lesson there in general.
But in a small business, you don't have the option. You're a one woman show. You wear all the hats. So I've worn all the hats, but as I've gotten to grow, I've been able to hand those hats off to people that shine in those areas. And it's really, really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's really great. So any advice for, let's say, a mom listening who is thinking of opening her own business, about kind of how to grow a small business, especially if you want to do it from home while your kids are small?
Yeah. I didn't start. I mean, I don't know what's normal in starting a business, but I got to scale it. I took $40, bought ingredients and made a product and made $100 off of it, and then took that money and bought more ingredients and scaled up. I didn't have to make this huge investment, this huge risk.
Oh, you
But
didn't have to borrow any money. There was no business
no. I
loans.
literally my little basic Excel sheet at the beginning of this whole thing was literally just what were my ingredient costs, the jar costs, and then selling that and then taking that money I made. And because at the time when you're making a product in your home kitchen, your only expenses are your ingredients. If you're not, at that time I wasn't valuing my time. I wasn't paying myself, it was just literally the ingredients. And then, but my biggest thing is you got to understand if you want to start a business, and this is on a business level, is you got to understand what problem you solve. And so that's why I feel like I've been successful, is because my origin story, the problem that I solve came from a genuine story in my life. I didn't make this up that my kid was getting ear infections. I didn't make up this powerless feeling I had as a mom, not being able to provide a natural remedy to keep my family healthy. It was a part of my story. And so all I did was tell my story. And as I told my story, other moms resonated with it because it's a common problem, so there's probably moms listening out here that have problems in their motherhood, find that problem and then tell people how you solve it. And that's marketing 101. It doesn't get any more basic than that. If you can just communicate how you solve your problem, you're providing value to people. And then you no longer have to feel like you're being salesy, because you're literally just speaking about something that has helped you and added value to your life.
Yes, that is really well said. I mean, you'll see that on any Shark Tank episode, where people come in. Like the best products are the ones that they created for their own their own personal reasons, because it was like, I saw that this was not in the market. I was looking for it. And then I was like, well, then screw it. I'm just going to make it myself. I have a friend of mine who's a mom who came up with a product. I can't disclose what the product is yet, but it's a mom product. It's a product to help her kids have a better quality of life. And, it's been years in the making, but that product's going to be coming from China in 3 months, and it's going to hit the market. And I'm so excited for her, because she literally saw like this piece missing. It was like, I'm not going to wait for somebody else to make this. Yeah. Right. And make their millions. I have the ability to do that. Yeah. And moms have that ability much more so, because they really, really know what other moms and families need from that personal experience. Yeah. And as long as she can clearly communicate the problem and how she solves it, it's going to be gold, Correct. Because the people that have those problems, if you're selling a product and no one's buying it, it's because you don't have a problem that you're solving, or you don't have anyone that has that problem. You're not finding those people that have that problem. And so for your friend, it's like her path is way different than mine, in that like she's having to jump some hurdles and figure out some stuff I don't even know how to. And in terms of investing, right, and finding, I mean, she's got to put a big amount down to be able to manufacture what she's manufacturing. Exactly. I applaud her, because like that probably sounds as scary as what I've done to some people, but like to me, that's like, I don't know if I could do that. She designed this product, right? Yeah. And she's like, she had no design, experience. Her and her friend did it to, multiple variations. And then they brought it, you get to a point where you do have to bring in experts, right? And then she brought it to a designer who was like, I can't believe that you even came this far. Now let me help you take it to the next level. To actually have it mass produced in a factory. So it's pretty amazing. And to your point in the beginning, you keep your overhead low, you do as much as you can yourself, you learn your business from every angle, but then you get to the point where you want to bring in people that know more than you do, because they're going to help you grow to that next level. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's so true. So you have a 5 and a 7-year-old now, and they never get sick. Right? Right. Oh, we've had COVID twice, Laura. It's been terrible. Oh my God. And that's with daily elderberry. Oh, that's because you have to get your kids adjusted. We I know. That's why. Yeah, we already talked about that. You made me a believer. I do know. That's one of those things where it's like, you ask me, why aren't you getting adjusted? And I have no good answer at all. Yeah. You just got to make it a priority, right? I know it. It's true. That's all you got to do is make it a priority. But take your kids to the dentist, right? Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I see. But no, we've had COVID. The first time we had the flu, I didn't even know it was the flu, because one of the biggest
biggest benefits of elderberry is just to cut the duration and the severity of whatever you're fighting, because it strengthens your immune system. And so my 5-year-old came down with it first. This was when they were like 1 and 3. So my 3-year-old came down with it first. And then I came down with it, but I don't jump to go to the doctor, as long as we can just do those things to keep them comforted and make sure everything's safe. But when your 1-year-old, when your baby gets sick, that's a little bit more concerning because they're not able to tell you as much of what they're feeling. And so I took her to urgent care and they ended up testing me for flu, but I was like, I didn't feel that bad, but it was just insane that I could, like, me and my 3-year-old could just kind of walk through the flu and not feel terrible. And I attribute that to elderberry, but yeah, we get sick. I just don't tell people when I get sick. Like, the elderberry lady can't get sick.
Guess what? So I've been in practice for 19 years as a chiropractor. And in the beginning, I used to think I'm this beacon of health and wellness, and I don't want people to know I'm sick, right? Because that's going to look, it's going to make, and then I was like, you know what? I'm a human too. That's not real. And I'm stressed. And now as a mom, there's nights I don't get great sleep, things that will lower the immune system. No matter what I'm eating and no matter what, life happens, and, so then it's like, I had to let go of that and be like, this is real. This is,
and your audience. Yeah. Well, and your audience appreciates that authenticity. My audience appreciates that authenticity. Now I'm not going to go blasting everyone like I'm sick, but like I get that same question when I'm at the farmer's market booth and they say, so you've never gotten sick? And I go, oh no, we get sick, but we do all the things, like we get rest, we get fluids, we eat well, we keep moving, and we don't move while we're sick, but we have an active lifestyle where we're moving our bodies, working our muscles, keeping.
What do you guys do as a family for activity?
Well, so, my husband and I, we do workouts at our gym regularly. That's like my therapy. My 6 a.m. 3 times a week is kind of my time to myself. But we are big into creeks right now. My kids love getting rain boots on or even just bare feet. And so we find a hike that's along a creek, and that's usually our therapy right there. So we're dabbling in some sports, but really we just love. We're a homeschooling family, so we've got some play groups that just meet at different parks, and that always comes with a hike. Yeah, nature for sure. So I
love that, and that's very healing for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you can have your kids take off their shoes and even go barefoot, like especially in the grass, it's very earthing, right? Grounding and getting those negative ions and just kind of discharging all of the electrical pollution, all the EMFs and all of the other crap that we're exposed to with our internet and 5G and whatever.
Yeah.
I have a 4-year-old and he loves throwing sticks in the creek.
Oh yeah, sticks, rocks, all of it. Yes. I love the lack of boundaries we need. I'm always aware of whatever dangers are going to be happening, but like, it's so freeing just to let them explore, let them do their thing, and just watching their curiosity, their wonder. It's so much fun watching through the eyes of a 5 and a 7-year-old.
Yeah. And I think that, there's lessons to be learned, right, by us. I think sometimes as parents, we forget that the teaching goes both ways.
Yes.
And, it's very, when you're really present with your child, it's just like, you get to, really have that beautiful child perspective, or the imagination and the creativity and things that we forget.
Yeah. Yeah. I've read a book, Wild and Free. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all. Ainsley Arment is the author. And so there's wild and free groups all over the country. But the subtitle to her book is just, I think it's reclaiming wonder in your child's education, and just talking about just that wild and free part of ourselves, that when we get outside and get in nature, and just the ways that that ignites in our souls what we were created to do, and what really, even just on a real basic level, just ignites us into just this curiosity, this wonder, this creativity. And so I love it. I don't know if I had kids, if I would push myself to get outside as much as I'm doing now with a 5 and a 7-year-old, and hopeful that that'll continue as they get older and we get to do longer hikes and, like different activities, that will just continue to be, spending our days outside.
So I do appreciate you just mentioning that, because I know for myself, I was living in an urban environment, working very long hours before I
Mhm.
became a mom. And these hours were all indoors, right?
Mhm.
And nature was really, even though I enjoyed and appreciated nature, it wasn't really happening because it wasn't
Mhm.
really accessible. And I would have to
Mhm.
like, drive a ways to like get to like a park and that was,
Yes.
wooded and go for hikes, for example.
Mhm.
So with my son and especially the pandemic, the blessing there is I was like, we're not living in a high rise apartment building anymore,
Mhm.
where the parks with the swing sets are all closed in our area. And
Mhm.
he's kicking a soccer ball in the hallway. I'm not okay with that. So we
Mhm.
moved to the burbs to have grass and woods.
Oh,
And now
awesome.
we have nature in our life every day. We don't have to
Yes.
schedule it. But
Yeah.
if I didn't have a child, I would still live in the city. You know what I
Same.
mean?
I would not be outside if I didn't have kids.
So, we did it. I did it. My husband and I were like, we're going to do this for him. This is so healthy for him to
Mhm.
have this experience. And,
Mhm.
with these crazy shutdowns, if they shut
Mhm.
down the parks, that's okay because we still have nature in
Backyard,
our
yeah.
own land. Right.
Mhm.
And, they can never shut that down, hopefully. So,
Yeah.
but of course we're all benefiting from that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And homeschooling for us was not on my radar, and I'm so surprised still that I love it as much as I do, because I'm not, for or against anything other than just what you as a parent feel is best for your children and your family. But
Tell me why you chose to homeschool.
well, so it was, my oldest would have been going into kindergarten in the fall of 2020. And so he had already been home with me for those first 5 years of his life. We did a little bit of like part day preschool, which I really appreciated and don't regret. Um, but at that time, if kids were going back, they might be in masks, they might get quarantined. It just seemed really chaotic. And I just really felt that God was telling me to protect the peace in my household and to remove myself from that chaos. And so I didn't want to be subject to we're quarantined, we're not quarantined, we're quarantined, we're not quarantined. And so it was just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so it was just for the year. We weren't committing. We're still not committing. We're just taking it year by year. And as long as it's what's best for our family, we'll continue with it. But I loved the community it's brought me. I loved like I still am having to detox a little bit from my previous view of what education is and what it can be, because I was a public
Mm.
school education child, and I don't have any like bad things to say about it. I'm looking at it a little bit more critically now, as I'm just looking at through the lens of homeschooling with my
Well, you have
children.
more information.
Yes, yes. Well, and it really is like, in the Wild and Free book really talked about just giving your kids the fullest childhood, and that it's not that that can't happen in public school, but our family, we can. Our lifestyle can afford for us to be at home with our kids and to homeschool. And once you're in it, it's not as daunting as it seems, And at the time in 2020, a ton of people went to homeschooling because they didn't want to be in masks in schools or part of the chaos of quarantine, not quarantine. Now, a lot of them are going back because that's the best choice for their family. But for us, I'm just so thankful for COVID in that regard, for just opening my eyes to this different way of educating my children and offering them just this feast of information and letting them just lead with their wonder and their curiosity towards what they're interested in.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so well said. And here we're recording this now in May of 2022, and
Mhm.
I'm still dealing with mask in quarantines in my son's
Mm,
preschool.
yeah.
And it's really like this is not done. And it's been over 2 years. And it's kind of like, oh my God, when is this ever going to be over?
Mm,
I know it's frustrating for universally for families
mhm. Yes.
going through this. And I think what's also interesting is you get to see different families having different reactions. Like I
Yes.
see kids showing up to my son's school, the mask already on their face, and
Mhm.
and these are 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old children,
Mm,
and I'm the opposite end. I'm like, I do not want my son to ever have to wear a mask. He did
mhm.
have to,
Yeah.
because of the state we live in was having
Mhm.
those guidelines for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But I didn't support that. And it was a little heartbreaking to me as a working mom that I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I have to send my son to school and he has to wear a mask.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of families were in that same boat. I mean, myself included, we weren't exempt from that. But I do feel like we all have the power to keep our peace at some level, and your
Yeah.
peace can be my best option right now for my family is for me to work and my kid to go to preschool. And that's not bad, and it's the mom guilt that we all face every single day, that we get to choose what we're going to do with that, and so it's just it's this empowerment piece again, that God created you to be their mom, and God created you with the giftings that you're doing, and you going to work, you get to show your kids how you do exactly what you were created to do. Because you, like, I've in just this short time with you, Laura, like you're a blessing and a gift to so many people, including your kids, but also the customers and the following that you have. And so, I think it's just important. Yeah, I think it's just important to understand that we do have control over the peace that we provide in our houses and our families, especially as mothers.
Yes. And, without sounding too much like I don't know if the word is, but it is also important, speaking of that peace, to protect our peace. And I will say, that there is, with mandates and government wanting to control things that pretend really should not, in my opinion, be controlled by the government. These should be personal freedoms and family decisions, and that we make as parents and individuals. So we have to speak up too. If we feel like we're losing our rights, we have to communicate this to legislators, because that's where all the action is happening.
Yeah. And doing that without getting in the mess of social media, like talking to the right people. Like, I think social media can be so toxic, while it can be so liberating too, because it does communicate truth out there, but it also communicates so much crap. And so it's like, talk to the legislators. Don't talk to all the people that are going to fuel your narrative.
all the haters, right?
Yes.
You find your tribe that are like-minded, and, communicating with the legislators in a respectful, non-angry, it's just like, hey, this is my concerns. Here's some science. And this is, there's a lot of education that they need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're getting hit from a lot of angles, including lobbyists that have, financial interests in mind, and not necessarily our health.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's great right now that we can at least, take a lot of steps towards our own health, and the things that you're doing and the things that I'm doing. It's like, we still have those freedoms. It's just, this is a way different world than it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago,
It really is. And, it's never going back to quote unquote the way it was, right? So we really have to adapt.
New waters. Yep.
The adaptability is key here. So
absolutely.
I love it. I love that, you really wanted to come on today and talk about empowering moms to really make the best decisions for themselves and their children. And I would say this starts preconception, which is my big passion. So like really understanding that you don't have to wait until you have children to make, to change your own lifestyle, and ideally your partner as well, because that will literally create a healthier child by doing that. And then that lifestyle will be unconscious. You'll just be doing it, and you won't have to it won't be as hard. Some of the things you're talking about, for somebody who's never eaten well or had never really exercised or whatever, it can be hard to start some of those new lifestyle changes, right?
It can seem like a huge mountain that we can't scale, because we think we need to do all of it instead of just taking one step. Start drinking more water. That's what I always tell people. Start with water.
That's a great first step.
Great first step. Yep.
Half your body weight in ounces a day. And, that's huge. So, well, and Jenny, any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so, but I just appreciate the real honest conversation. I can tell just your heart behind what you're doing. And I think it's great. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, so tell everybody where they can find your product. And, Yeah.
So my website is theelderberryco.com. We ship across the United States. It's free shipping over 25. We got a great subscription service that's really easy and convenient. Get it shipped direct to your door on a regular basis. We've got an awesome customer service team. So you're never going to just be talking to a robot. We've got 2 girls up there that just rock it. And we always lead with kindness and our customer values. And so, we are actually offering a discount code for your followers. Well Adjusted Mama 10 will get you 10% off your order. And you can just put that into the box at checkout. And then we're also on Instagram. Our handle is the Elderberry Co. And I'm sure we're on Facebook too. You can find us there, all the places. So.
Yep. Awesome. Jenny, thank you so much for that code. And I'm excited for everyone, including myself, to try this syrup, and for ourselves, adults, children, everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast interview. Jenny is an inspiration for all mamas out there who are learning how to trust their gut intuition about what's best for their family and their family's health, and following that lead. So I'm very grateful that she came on and shared her story. And also, as she mentioned at the end of this interview, she's offering 10% off orders at her company, the elderberryco.com, off her entire line of products, 10% off if you use the code WellAdjustedMama10. So thanks again, Jenny, for coming on, and I'm excited for everyone to try her products. They're amazing. I've been drinking the tea as well as having the syrup and the gummies, and I think you'll really enjoy it.